हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू आवर चैनल सेल्फ मेड यूनिवर्सिटी। कैसे हैं आप? उम्मीद करते हैं आप सब बहुत अच्छे हैं। तो आज हम एक इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक लेकर आए हैं जिसका नाम है कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक, और एक इसका मैट्रिक है, फाइनेंशियल मैट्रिक, विच इज नोन एज ROCE, दैट इज रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड। सो बेसिकली व्हेनेवर we go for investments, we put our money, or the entrepreneur or the banks or the venture capitalists, they provide capital. They want a decent return on their capital. So that return on capital is known as return on capital employed. Okay, so here we are going to first find what is capital, what are the various formulae using which we can compute capital employed in a business, and then what are the repercussions of having a higher ROE or a lower ROE. Okay, so first of all, capital, पूंजी क्या है? कैपिटल जो हम लगाते हैं अपने बिजनेस में, वो कहाँ से आ सकती है? एक तो हमारा खुद का पैसा हो, ओके, सेल्फ अर्न मनी, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ पार्ट ऑफ कैपिटल। देन उसके अलावा there's one term which we call capital investments. Now what are these capital investments? CI or capital investments are the funds provided by banks or financial institutions, okay, to a particular company or an entrepreneur to run a business. अगर हमारा एक स्टार्टअप है तो हमारे डिफरेंट राउंड्स ऑफ फंडिंग होते हैं, फर्स्ट राउंड, सेकेंड राउंड, थर्ड राउंड। इन एवरी राउंड वी रिक्वायर मनी, ओके। सो व्हेन वी रिक्वायर मनी we go through angel investors, and again there are different class of investors. Okay Rahul, clear? So from these sources of funding, whatever we are getting, okay, we put it under the category of capital investments. So what is the use of capital? We require money, we require capital to run our own business, and for running our business, what we need plant, machinery, equipments, land, okay, various peripherals, instruments, raw materials. So for if I'm having a fintech company, okay, let's say my startup is about a fintech company, so I need to have a land, I need to take it on rent either, or I need to buy it outrightly. Then I need to have my own server, various computers, laptops, okay, all these equipments, and will require money. So capital is required to run a business, and the ultimate motive of every business is profit maximization. So that is one of the goals of employing capital in your business. Now we are very well acquainted with one equation of balance sheet. Okay, what is this balance sheet equation? That the left hand side of balance sheet equals the right hand side. On one side we take assets, and on other sides we have equity plus total liabilities. In total liabilities there are two types of liabilities: current liability and long term liability. Current liability is one which is maturing, which has to be paid in 1 year, whereas long term liabilities is known as long term debt. So if you have taken a bank loan, okay, if you have taken issued debentures, all this will be covered under LTD, long term debt or long term liability. So the equation is very simple. Total assets will be, again, there are short term assets which are maturing in 1 year, and then long term assets, that are the assets having a maturity period exceeding 1 year. So equation is total assets equal total liabilities. Okay, total liabilities we can further bifurcate in current liabilities and long term liabilities. Now if I deduct current liabilities from total assets, so what I have to do? I have to simply rearrange this variables in the equation. So I'll take current liabilities from right side to left side, so it becomes total assets minus current liabilities equals what? Equity plus long term liability. Clear? So total assets minus current liabilities equal equity plus long term liability or long term debt. Now both these equations represent what? Capital employed. So here are two formulae, okay, using which we can find the capital employed. So first formula could be the left hand side of this equation, total assets minus current liabilities, means what is my total investment in assets, and from that I deduct current liabilities. Why I deduct current liabilities? Because these liabilities will be matured in 1 year only. So for a longer perspective, to judge a company's viability, how effective a company is performing, I will deduct current liabilities from total assets. The other approach is I add equity, and it's basically I add long-term liabilities to equity. So equity is also borrowed, money. Not if not borrowed money, we come up with an IPO issue and we raise funds. Okay, and the fund providers become all the shareholders also becomes our owners. So equity is one source of money, and the other source of capital is what? Long-term debt or long-term liabilities. So I can issue debentures or bonds, or I can opt for various types of loans from banks or financial institutions. So either of the equations can be used, but one thing need to be kept in mind, that when we are comparing return on capital employed, okay, of say companies in a particular industry, then we need to stick to the same formula. If you are using this one, TA minus CL, stick to TA minus CL, or if you are using equity minus equity, this is equity plus equity, this is equity plus non-current liabilities. So if you are using equity plus non-current liabilities, then stick to this formula. Okay, so first or second depends on your choice, but while making comparison, use only one formula and keep it follow it thoroughly for comparing various players in a given industry. Now there is one financial metric which is called ROCE. So what is the ROCE means? If somebody has provided us capital, okay, the capital provider will like to gauge the return. Okay, what extra benefits in terms of monetary units, in terms of money they are going to get. So return on capital employed is a very important profitability ratio in finance and is calculated as EBIT upon CE. Now EBIT is what? Operating profits, okay, divided by capital employed. So this answer will come as in percentage. Okay, this has to be multiplied by 100. This particular ratio has to be multiplied by 100, and the answer will come in percentage. So for example, if my operating profit is basically 50 lakhs and capital employed is 5 lakhs, so this will come as 10%. Now in another case, EBIT is 50 lakhs and my capital employed is 25 lakhs. So here it is only 2%. Okay. Now this is the case of higher return on capital employed. Now basically return on capital employed measures what? It measures the operational efficiency of a company. Okay. How well, how effectively the company is using capital in its business to generate the operating profits. Higher the ROCE, the more beneficial, the more better it is for the company, as well as for the investors, as well as for the potential investors who are interested to park their funds in near future. But here there are two extreme cases. In one case it is 10% too high, and here it is 2% too low. Now too low is obviously is not a welcome gesture, and even if we talk about 10%, this is very, very high. Now if it is very high, it indicates one thing. It has one negative aspect also, that there is too much cash capped with the company. Okay, and cash does not earn any return. So cash stuck company here. Okay, this is a cash. Okay, cash is there, but the company is not able to park or channelize the cash in business. So that is one negative aspect, and it has to be gauged, it has to be seen by going through the balance sheet. Okay, so this is about higher ROCE, lower ROCE, what is ROCE, what is capital employed, how to compute capital employed using different equations. At times, there is one more ratio, one more profitability ratio, which we call return on equity. So at times, finance experts, they argue which ratio has to be considered first. See, ROCE, that is return on capital employed, gives you a broader spectrum. Why broader spectrum? Because in this, by going through the equations, we take the total of capital, okay, which you have parked in your business, and we try to calculate the return on total capital. So ROCE is what? As discussed earlier, it's a ratio of EBIT to capital employed. Whereas when we talk about return on equity, this is a ratio of net profit upon Equity means what is the return, okay, which the equity shareholders are getting. So it has a narrower spectrum, okay, and here we are only concerned with the return to equity shareholders, whereas when we analyze ROCE, it provides us a broader spectrum, and we try to find the total return on capital supplied to us by various types of individuals or institutions. So personally, I would recommend ROCE over ROE if you are a existing investor in a company or a potential investor and want to park in your funds in a particular company. So basically, here one thing more, that if the output of the ratio is 10%, it means for every 1 rupee or for every $1 of capital employed, the company is generating EBIT of how much? $10 or 10 rupees. Here also, if it is 2%, it means for every $1 for every $1 of capital employed, the particular company is generating what? EBIT of 2% or operating profit. So higher the ratio, the better it is for a company. But excessive high or excessive low ratios are not welcome gesture for any company as well as for investors. So I hope you have liked this particular video, and your suggestions are always welcome. And we request from our production team, I personally request you to subscribe our channel, to like our videos, and do share our videos among your friends and family members. Okay, so take care. We'll meet soon.